Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we are taking on Dare to Defy 6. And this one I thought was a pretty fun fight. I think this is a nice fight because it's a fight that feels like it's a little bit difficult, but I felt like I wasn't bottlenecked into like one type of team, right? I've already seen people do Rubicante solo runs. I did attempt that myself off camera, and I did have a run that I think would have done it. I just misplayed one play at the end and I got killed. But I found that the Rubicante play, it's like really slow, and like doing defense comps in general, I did try defense comps in here. And defense comps I think can work really good on this fight. The thing with this fight is the boss is very aggressive in terms of HP attacks. Like they are going to nonstop HP attack you. So if you don't have either mitigation or dodge, you're going to die really quick, right? So you either have to have a tank or some way to like have dodging. So I think that's how they're selling like Rydia here a little bit, is if you just do like party-wide evasion, you can kind of dodge and mess with that. Now this fight is kind of tailored towards Seymour. And the reason why is Seymour is a character who he gets stronger as the enemy gets weaker. So what they do is you're only fighting a single enemy here that you can drop the HP down fairly decently, right? It's still not like the fastest, but I think it's lower than a typical Shinryu, so you can get them down kind of quick. And then what happens is when you get them below 50%, what they do then is they split off into two other ones at full health. And the idea is to showcase Seymour, because as long as one enemy is 50% or less, then he's going to start looking really good, right? So the reason why I didn't like... So a defense comp here, Rubicante, works really awesome when you have the three enemies out and they're being crazy aggressive. And during their force, they steal turns and stuff, so they do things that work well for off-turn. But I found it to be really slow at first, because when it's just this one enemy, it takes a while to get going and to get them down into that 49%. Well, what I opted to go for here was actually I decided to do a very offensive strategy. And Warrior of Light is pretty much a cheat code to any fight where you're worried about dying, right? So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, yep, I don't want to bring like a counter tank type build. I still want to do an offensive build. Well, I'm just going to bring Warrior of Light. He's going to stand there and basically make us invincible this entire fight. You are going to see us constantly get barraged with HP attacks. The enemies have huge Brave gains, and they go up to purple numbers like immediately just on Brave gains. Like they go from 0 to kill you on their turn. So if you don't, I guess another way you could deal with them is through like debuffing and like hindering their Brave gains or giving them really heavy like Brave poisons or something. But normally, if you don't have like that, they're just going to HP plus and kill you, right? They're just going to like Brave gain and go crazy. Well, Warrior of Light just says, yep, we're going to negate all that. So Warrior of Light, really his role is to sit there and make it so that my party's safe and I can just operate how I want. So then it's like, well, let's bring a really good, ridiculous support character like Garnet. And, because this is Dare to Defy, I can't just bring out Tifa on every fight. Well, let's bring out Reigns, because my boy Reigns is launching and doing a lot of damage, right? And so this enemy does another thing too, where I think the trigger is something, if they go into force and like not all three of the enemies are there, they like auto kill you. I think that's what the trigger is, because that happened to me once. They do this needle giga spread that you're seeing here. And then they'll sometimes do the plus version, but if they do needle giga spread double plus, they insta kill you. And the one time that they did that to me, I had only 2 out of the 3 enemies remaining when they went into force time. So I'm pretty sure the trigger is you want to keep all 3 up, but I could be wrong. It might be something else. Whatever. We got through it and we figured it out, right? It wasn't that bad of a fight. I had done just like a couple of defense comp attempts, and I'm like, well, I want to do something a little quicker, so let's just be very offensive is what I thought, right? So Garnet is there to be supporting. She provides excellent off turn. It's once every 4 turns, but it's very heavy damage. We obviously have Reigns doing his whole thing with the launching, and we've got Reigns BT, FR fully decked out. So our Reigns is going to be putting up really good numbers. So my thought here is I'm going to basically set up for like a really good Reigns burst phase. And I know I'm going to get the first enemy down to 50%. But the thing is I know he will break off into the other enemies like mid burst phase. So my thought is even though Reigns is like single target, it's very heavy single target. And I can basically single target this guy down until I get all 3. And then I can just balance my attacks out and weaken all 3 kind of equally, right? I think you could bring somebody like Renoa or like Twins here, but you got to get them to that stage of 3 first, right? So once you do that, then the AoE people are working really well. But I think people like Tifa and Reigns just work really good here, because with the single target, you can just focus this guy down to 50% really quick. And I've said this before, even in 2 to 3 target fights, characters like Tifa and Rain still feel very powerful because they're doing so much damage. You just split out your attacks and you're still doing insane amounts of damage. You're breaking these guys down really quick. So yeah, that's basically the theory of this fight, right? Big single target damage with Reigns, keep the launching going. We've got Garnet there to do the good support, and I wanted to have a healer too, like having access to healing in case somewhere along the lines Warrior of Light, doesn't come through. But yeah, Warrior of Light, I think literally we don't take a drop of HP damage this whole fight. Like, we just upkeep his shields, and that's all you have to do. You make sure his LD buff is up, you make sure you have enough shields to handle any incoming HP damage, and you're good. It's like, game over, GG. We got this, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how this fight went down for me. Now, the banner I did not summon. Obviously, I just did my free summons because I already have Rydia built. Seymour I actually don't have built. So, like, his FRBT would have been new for me, but he's definitely... I said this before in my Should You Pull. He's not the character you really should be going in on. Now, for the LD call, sure, his LD is very good. I already have that. So, there was really no reason for me to put any, like, resources into this banner. Now we got my boy Edgar. He's dropping in a few days here. And it's going to be tough because obviously I think he is very skippable. And I talked about this. But the two problems I have with skipping him is that I'm a huge Final Fantasy VI fan. And the other one is my understanding is the Spiritus fight is heavily pushing Edgar. Right? And I mentioned this in another video. Because I'm not familiar with the fight, but it is the Shiva Spiritus fight, which I hear is a pretty hard one. And what I said in that video, I'm like, if the devs are smart, they're going to push like weapon weaknesses, right? That's what Edgar does. So he does ranged, melee, and magic weakness damage. And I said if the devs are smart, they're probably going to do elemental lockout and then force the weakness damage from the weapon types. And sure enough, I think that's what the Shiva does according to what I'm hearing from people. And so what I hear is for this fight, you either got to use Edgar or bring very specific calls that do the weapon weakness damage types, right? Like, for example, I think Hope is a magic weakness damage one, right? I think Fran might do range damage. I don't remember if she does it on her call, but I know she does it if she's in your party. But stuff like that. So you'd have to like bring calls, and I'm assuming you have to time them very specifically to do things the way you want to. It might be that you have to deal weakness damage to the boss to like stop their force time, and like if it's complete elemental lockout, then yeah, the only way to get that is like an elemental weakness damage. I think Auron also does like a melee weakness, so it might be like Fran, Auron, and Hope, like stuff like that are the types of characters and calls you need to use. Now, once again, we'll see when I actually get into the fight. If it's literally going to require me to like bounce in between 3 different weaknesses, that is going to be a pain in the butt. If it's like I can just do any elemental weakness, then sure, maybe I can just bring Auron, have melee weakness or something and be okay. Or I can put Hope on my team and do all magic weakness. But my guess is, the way people are talking about it being a hard fight, you're probably going to need all 3 weakness types to get through the fight. And Spiritus fights are very hard. Like the bosses, like it's a level beyond Shinryu. So because of what I'm hearing about the fight, there's a part of me that's like, I kind of want to at least get Edgar FR. But I think it's going to be one of those situations where I'm going to do my free pulls and hope I get really lucky. The thing is I for sure have Edgar LD only. Like, I have everything up through LD. So Edgar, I think, is still going to be usable at that point. But especially on, like, a Spiritus fight, you're probably going to want Echo. Edgar BT, I'm sure, is not required. But, man, to at least have the Force Echo, I think, is going to be really important for that fight. So we'll see. If I'm due for some luck because I've been kind of unlucky on my last few, but I haven't really been pulling that much because I've been so limited on resources. But man, I could really go for just like a free Edgar on this one. If the game could spot me an Edgar FR, I'd totally take it. Because yeah, there's stuff coming up. We're going to have community stream coming up after the Edgar event. And there's going to be stuff coming up. Like Rex is coming out. I'm not sure. I have to look more at the character to see how I feel about them. But the thing with Rex is it's a brand new character. And so like, I'm more inclined to pull on new characters because I need like all the weapons and like at least having them LD only. The character's usable, fairly easy to get. I want to do a character guide on them, so it's like, dang it, it's like I'm finding it very hard to do full skips because I'm finding reasons to want all the characters, right? So you guys can learn from my mistakes. You don't need to pull on all these banners. I'm going to see if I can get by, but I'm going to try to be very stingy with my gems, you know, sitting at 150k. The one saving grace I have is that with Edgar does come Spiritus. And with Spiritus, you don't have to beat the fight, the actual Spiritus fight, to get all the rewards. So what I potentially could do is I could go through the event, grind out, and get the 400, what is it, the 400 tickets and the 4,000 gems. Then I could take the 400 tickets. I think reasonably, unless I get shafted with that 400 tickets, I probably could get Edgar FR. And then maybe use him on the fight, right? That might be my plan. If Edgar's really nice to me, I would really love to take my 400 tickets and, you know, go in and get my boy Noctis FR. Anyways, through all that talking here, we've basically just been going through the Rain's Force Time. We're on the last turn here, and you can see he dealt out a ton of damage, and I just kind of split it up. And we were doing, you know, it wasn't like, it's not like Tifa level, but we were doing like 20 mil launches there, like consistently, right? I think we even had a 30 mil there at the end. And he put up a 250 mil burst phase. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd say 250 mil is a pretty solid burst phase, right? For my boy Reigns. So we'll definitely take that. And here we are. We've got an enemy at 41. We've got one at 14. We got one at 27. So now at this point, I'm just trying to manage the fight and make sure I don't die. I've got, you know, 3 LD uses for Warrior of Light. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just use one here, even though I wasn't even close to running out. Just doing everything I can to make sure Warrior of Light doesn't have any chance of dropping those buffs. And then it's like, yeah, let's just get to another Force Time. The one thing with this team that, like, I would improve if I could is to get an actual Force Charger so I could ramp. But the thing is with Warrior of Light's defense, I can just take it slow and let the enemies take turns. They can go into Force, whatever, because I know I can't die. And then we just ramp up the gauge slowly that way. Garnet's BT effect worn off, but we're welcomed with Immaculate Judgment. That's got to be the one thing I love about Garnet's BT that's such an advantage over other BTs. Because especially with these support characters, right? You put up the BT aura for the really good effects, and then when they run out, it's kind of like, ah, oh, dang it, I wish I had that BT effect. Well, at least with Garnet, you get that Immaculate Judgment gold buff, so it's like her BT effect runs out, but then you're rewarded with another buff, so it's like really, really nice with her. I mean, then if you full commit to Garnet, you know, you could let Immaculate Judgment run and then go into an actual burst phase with her. I don't know that you'd want to ever actually use your burst phase on her, but you could have like the gold frame buff and the BT effect up at the same time, which could actually get kind of nutty, right? But Garnet, you never really do that anymore because Garnet's not a character you really want to use her burst phase for. But I think it's fine using her with her BT effect and then just getting her gold buff. It's good enough for sure. And Garnet, you know, she's just flying with those lasers from the sky, dropping the bombs, doing big damage. And I don't know what it is about Garnet, but it always happens where I'm at like a pivotal point in the fight, and her off turn always triggers at just the right time to like break the enemies or get a kill at the last second or just something. I don't know. It just, the timing always feels so good on it for me. Dude, and Warrior of Light can put up some damage. That's what I love about this boy, Warrior of Light. He keeps us so safe, but he's actually like with his FR rework and Echo and all that, like he actually does good damage, dude. That EX just did 1 mil AoE. For like what Warrior of Light is, the definition of tank, and like nothing else, like he put up some damage. It's crazy, and he's doing like 800k on his like shield throws and stuff. Like that's pretty good damage for him. So I'm a big fan of Warrior of Light, and this was a great spot to bring him out, I think. I do think this is probably, out of all the Dare to Defies, this is probably the best fight for Rubicante. By the sound of the, you know, the Shiva fight, that probably won't be a spot. Which would be odd if fire is locked out because Shiva's ice. You'd think they would have fire weakness, but from my understanding, we'll look at the fight when it actually drops, but it's sounding like it's going to be very anti-element stuff and definitely pushing Edgar, which is what they should do. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those fights that I get frustrated with, either because it's going to have too many mechanics or because it's too heavily pushing one character, and that's probably what it's going to be. It's probably going to be too heavily pushing Edgar. Because, like, other than, like, Edgar is the only character that can do, like, all 3 of those weapon-type weaknesses. Which, sure, that's what they're wanting him to specialize in. But, yeah, if the fight is so tuned to that, that's going to be very frustrating. So, JP players, you already know what's going on. So you can let me know how frustrating the fight's going to be in the comments if you want to go ahead and do that. But I'm sure the Spiritus I definitely won't be getting done the first night. And actually, if it drops, depending on when it drops, I've actually got a really busy weekend. I should probably tell you guys about that. But I'm actually going to be going to a wedding this weekend. It's my sister-in-law's wedding, so it's a pretty big, important one for us here. My wife's sister. So, yeah, I'm going to be out all weekend, and we're even staying until like Monday because it's Memorial Day. So I'm not going to be doing any videos this weekend at all. So I'm going to try to get done what I can here in the next couple of days and maybe schedule some stuff up to go out over the weekend. But yeah, if there's, I have to double check when Edgar actually drops, if it's going to be like Thursday night or Friday night, or if it's Sunday night. If it's Sunday night, that wouldn't be too bad because I can do Edgar stuff when I come back, right? I'm actually going to check my Discord right now, but yeah, it shouldn't be too bad, right? Let me just hop in here really quick and check out. So Edgar drops on the 26th, which would be the evening of the 25th, and right now it is the 23rd. So actually, yeah, Thursday night. So I will be able to do some stuff. Who knows? Edgar actually could be streamable. I might stream Edgar on Thursday, but Thursday is going to kind of be like... Thursday is going to be a lot of recording, and then Friday I actually have off of... Or wait, hold on. I'm... No. That's right. Yep. That is I was thinking I was a week ahead, but no, that is this weekend, yeah. So Friday I have off, and I don't have to do wedding stuff till later. So it is possible that like Friday during the day I can get some videos done too. So it just Saturday, Sunday, most of Monday probably won't be doing stuff, but I think it'll work out. So yeah, we'll be definitely dropping some Edgar stuff Thursday and Friday. Don't know if I'll stream or not. We'll see how things are going. But anyways, we finally ramp up here. We got into another FR. So now at this point, it won't be long for these guys. And dude, like, it's crazy because we had like just gotten out of the enemy's force and they already ramped up to 80%. It's like when their health gets low, they ramp up like crazy. So we had to time it to just like kind of get into it quick before they got into another one. But now it's just kind of, we go through, we launch, we do stuff. You know, not the craziest in terms of like strategy or whatever. It's a pretty straightforward team, right? And I think this fight is pretty straightforward. It's pretty much the strategy is just bring a way to deal with the damage, whether it's mitigation or dodge, and then bring your main source of damage, whether that be through an aggressive damage dealer like I did here, or through like a tanking type of setup. I think another way you could run this fight, I think a good way to run this fight, if you want to do like Rubicante, you could do like a Rubicante Machina and then like maybe another tank, like some type of setup like that. So you could do something like, say, I don't know, Rubicante, Gao and Machina or something like that, right? Or Core. Actually, Core would be ridiculous. So let's say it's Core. Yeah, let's do like Core and Machina and Rubicante. Because the reason why Machina would work so well for this fight is Machina, remember, I just recently did a video on him. He works as a very offensive, like, single target character, right? Very much how, like, Reigns is working here or Tifa would. But then he's got off-turn encounters. So the reason why Machina, I think, would be really good on this fight, and the only reason I didn't use him is because I used him on Dare to Defy. But when you have the single target, you can just go into, like, a Machina burst force and burst him down below 50%. And then when there's 3 enemies, then you could go into a Rubicante force and do defense comp. So I honestly think that would be the best way to operate this fight. Unfortunately, here's the bad thing, too, about a fight like this that's just coming out on a campaign banner. It's Dare to Defy only. Like, there isn't, like, a regular version of this. And I think this is the Dimensions End 12 fight, right? So in either case, this fight is only used on lockout stages, so I can't like just go in and do it with other characters for fun. It's only in lockout stages. So I kind of wish they had done like a little co-op with like at least a co-op Shinryu or something, where I could just go in here with other teams and do, because I would love to do like more videos on this fight, because I think there are a lot of different ways to approach it, but I don't want to mess up what my lockout is, and I don't want to, you know, do that, because I would love, I do think like a Machina, Machina Core Rubicante, I think, would just tear this fight to shreds, and would work very, very well, right? And I think Rubicante could tank enough. Core's Oath of Absolute Defense, between Rubicante and Core's Absolute Defense, I think you would tank enough to be fine. You could always bring a Warrior of Light Call, or bring like a Raijin Call to get you through the early phases. But like, here's the thing with Rubicante. Rubicante will get slapped up and killed, but once you get to his FR, then he's invincible. So as long as he's locked on with his FR, so the only time it's dicey with Rubicante is like the in-between FR time. But once again, with I think Core having Oath of Absolute Defense, like, I think that would be enough to, like, kind of keep you safe anyways. So, I don't know. If you guys have the opportunity to try that team here, I think that team would actually work out really well. But anyways, guys, there you go. So blew up the fight. We did it with the Reigns, Warrior of Light, Garnet combo. Depending on what I use on Shiva, I may have to go back and unlock certain characters, but we'll see if I can do it with what I got. Let me know what you guys did for Stage 6. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.